Again to Wickerson Studios. As most of you know, I'm on to a generative art series, and I know it's going to end up with machine learning and some artificial intelligence. But I wanted to put a shout out to Mitchell Farley, who's a senior in our program at KCAI. He's come over from Interactive Arts. He did a great presentation today. He had 6 minutes, and he had to show something he was looking at, something he was interested in. And he did a really nice presentation on art and AI. Without showing his PowerPoint, because that's his material, I wanted to highlight the spaces that he brought in. He first started with N- NVIDIA AI Playground, which really allows you to literally do some basic drawings, and then it will interpret those drawings as long as you name them. You know, river, rock, wood, gravel, waterfall, and you can see the image. When you go into here, you'll see how it's translated into pretty realistic imagery because of the machine learning and the patterns and the labeling that's occurring within there. So that was pretty exciting. I thought that was nice. So the website is here. It's nvidia.com and Research and AI Playground. The next site that he brought up, and I've just highlighted all these, was ArtBreeder, which allows you to go in and kind of take two images, I think, one and two, and hybrid them together and end up with these weird, think of it as a poodle and a bubble. I guess you'd end up with a pubble. Whatever. That was an interesting one called ArtBreeder. I thought that would be interesting to people that want to take a look at it. The next one he had shown was called Deep Dream Generator, and that's this one. And you can take a look at these and go into here. And this will basically, similarly, you could take, say, the image of an eagle, and you could have, he used the example of a landscape, and then it kind of hybrids those together and tries to make a picture out of the both and make it most enjoyable or however it thinks you're wanting to make. Now, the next one I compared to, it was called Experiments with Google Cartoonify, and I thought it was actually like exchanging an American dollar for a Canadian dollar and getting the worst exchange rate possible. So you put in an image of maybe a realistic cat photograph, and you end up with these childlike drawings of cats and people getting married and cakes and things like this. So I thought that was a very fun one, kind of a bit ridiculous. The next thing he'd shown was with Google.com. A lot of these are Google, and since I've started looking at Cassie Kozhikov, and listening to those machine learning things that were going on, I thought, I may as well get some sense of it. So this one's one that I think predicts your writing or tries to fix your writing, experiments with a neural network. Pretty cool stuff on here. I'd say just take a look. The website's up at the top. And I'm just going to pop out this little video series for people wanting greatest hits. And of course, I could have done a medium and post these for you, but I thought a video might be the best approach to it. What I'm doing is going through his presentation above and just highlighting what these are. The next one is Magenta TensorFlow Sketch MN Demo. So it kind of predicts what it thinks you might be wanting to do. So you're drawing in here, and you might start drawing something that looks like petals on a flower, but then if you start drawing legs, it'll switch into a mosquito. It predicts many iterations of what it anticipates you drawing. So think about working this way, that it's kind of has a hand in where you would go. So Magenta TensorFlow look pretty cool. You have to go into the sketch tool, which is around here somewhere, I think. Anyway, it's in there somehow. You just have to take a look around for it. Let me zoom down to the next one. The next one is one I am familiar with, and one of the first machine learning that David Overholt pointed me towards, and that was Runway.ml, and I think you get a few credits on that. You can actually go in, and I think from written word and from pictures input, it just starts to come up with different iterations of what you might or might not want. And the example here was this green screen one that just flew by. Pretty cool green screen prediction as to what the figure is and what would the background be. This seems to be the one that's of most interest to people I know that are interested in machine learning. And these are kind of like apps that you can go in and play around with. The ninth one that he put up was a pretty cool music app that I think was a duet. So you play along music with another thing that tries to predict like what you're playing and plays alongside you. So experiments with Google, all AI duet. Pretty cool little thing. And I know that's all I'm really saying of it. The next one was OpenAI and MuseNet. So maybe I'd put that one in here. Let's see if I can get that one to come up. MuseNet, and the examples were you get a prompt. You say if you want like jazz, piano, bass drums, or bluegrass piano, guitar, bass drums, and it tries and produce that music for you. So another very interesting thing. Excuse me for a sec. On to number 11 because Mitchell Farley just pulled together 20 that he was kind of keeping an eye on. I think the next one let me see what pops up. It's experiments with Google. It was called SoundMaker. So Google really has an into a lot of these things. I think that was it. So harp and clarinet, it kind of mediates between the two. You get the trombone and the pan flute, and then you make the musical sounds between that, I guess, while you're playing. So, it's audio, it's visual, things like that. Experiments with Google, scribbling speech was pretty cool. So I think that's the next one. Yeah, scribbling speech. I like that one because you speak to it and you say what you want it to draw. There's a bird flying above the sea, and sure enough, it starts to generate, if I hit play, this kind of image of this bird. Interpreting that, I like that it turns into a plane for a little bit here. It looks like it did. Yeah, a little plane shot right there. So a nice one. The next one, exploring layers of with Google. Again, experiments with Google. This is Neural Net C. Let me see what that one is. I guess you could just kind of go on here at your own rate. And this is one that he had shown examples of like what the neural network's kind of envisioning. And this was kind of nice with water bottle, bow tie, and then ice, lollipop, popsicle. Pretty cool. Just jump in here, have some fun, look around at it, see if there's something there for you. 14 was he just had mentioned deep fakes, but didn't provide anything. And you can just look online for any memes or anything else or faces being jumped in. The next one was Distill Pub Activation Atlas, which is like all the work that's been done. I think, as far as I know, Activation Atlas on exploring neural networks with activation atlases and recording kind of how things are being developed. And you've got from French Los to Spindle to Ladle, how something would process that information. Over my head. I got to figure out what's going on here before I promote it a little too much or get it going in my own work. I did like the next one if you like the game Tetris. And that was Tetris. So semantics playing with Tetris. And it kind of plays and you type in a word and then it tries to find the order, find something paired with that a little closer. So semantic experiments with Google once again. The next one that was in there was Explore, which is an AI dungeon. So for those D&D people, you can kind of script away at where you are and what you want to do. And what he used as an example, I think, was, yeah, he'd gone in and played the Explore dungeon. You are Mitch, a survivor trying to survive a post-apocalyptic world by scavenging among ruins. You haven't eaten for 2 days. You've got a backpack and a canteen. And it just goes on. That might be fun to get my kids involved in that and see where that ends up going. So I really thank Mitch Farley for doing this work. Then he pulled up something that was experiments with Google, and it was the Infinite Bad Guy, which played off of Billie Eilish and all of the parodies or every time that was ever played. So the Infinite Bad Guys is a pretty cool thing. I just brought it up on the wrong screen, Infinite Bad Guys, and there you go. You've got this kind of screensaver of every video and every kind of playing of that. And I guess you can just play that as Infinite Bad Guy by Billie Eilish. Somebody I still want to have to come talk to the Kansas City Art Institute sculpture students. So Billie Eilish, if you got some time, just pop in, no problem. We'll host you, and we'll get some pizza and a coffee, and you'll be all right. Another thing to do, and I'm putting that shout out for Kenley Turner, who's wanted Billie Eilish there since she started school. The other one was Thing Translator, and I'll have to just jump up here because I had it here. Actually, I had the presentation. I danced away from it. I'm not sure why I did that. Yeah, the next one was Thing Translator, which experiments with Google. You kind of put your phone in front of something and it predicts what that is. It doesn't do it too specifically. You can see the examples of food and shoe, and that was topic of conversation after our meeting. So I really enjoyed this, Mitchell, and I want to give a thanks out to it. The last one he does pose was pretty interesting. It was story generators, and I don't think I have an image for that, but a sense that you put in data, you put in kind of a language, and this is where we got into further discussions. Like they have examples of Batman and the Joker talking throughout a script, and the script's writing itself, and of course, it's logically something that I related to the last Digital Futures lecture, where a fellow was looking into interviews with remote and kind of farm-based and rural people in Russia and asking them questions to check their intelligence levels. And you either could see them as very ignorant people, or you could see them as incredibly thoughtful and philosophical and trying practically to work out the discussions. But I did like that presentations. Shout out to Mitchell. If you want to get a load of all of these links and all of their little icons, I'll put them in this. I'll put them all in this email feed, so you can just click right on them and have them at your disposal. So thanks very much for watching Wickerson Studios, Ted KCAI, Mitchell Farley's credit, and then all the people at Google that have brought this together. Thanks again.